Welcome to Midlife Women Entrepreneurs, where you'll find real stories, practical strategies, and the mindset shifts you need for entrepreneurship. If you've ever felt like midlife was too late to launch a business, write a book, or chase a dream, think again. I'm Lynette Turner, your host, and I'm bringing you inspiring conversations and practical tips to help nudge you forward and keep growing in midlife. So let's jump in. Well, I have Christina L. Woods with me today here on Midlife Women Entrepreneurs. Christina, I cannot wait to have this interview with you because when we jumped on this pre-call together, everybody that's listening, I always have a pre-call with my guests. You're a hypnotherapist, but not in the traditional hypnotherapy, stage hypnotherapy kind of way, but you do a lot of things around energy, and I just loved everything you said. And some of the things that you said on the pre-call stuck with me until even today. So we're going to jump right into it. But before we do, I want to hand the floor over to you. Give yourself a bit of an introduction and we'll take it from there.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So yes, I'm a hypnotherapist and not the stage kind, even though when I started doing this, my kids said, "Oh my gosh, Mom, you're the guy on the stage at the fair." But that's not me. So yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist and an energy healer and a transformational coach, empowerment coach. And this is, lucky me, my second career. I had an entire 30-year corporate career prior to this. And I get to work with women all over the world, help them shed beliefs and programs. And we'll talk about that and really just become who they're meant to be. So shed all those programs and beliefs that aren't true and allow them to embody the truth about them and really embody and become the things that they want in life and just embrace joy and life and their power and the truth and their intuition. And I get to do it virtually with women, like I said, all over the world. So this is my new gig and I love it. I didn't start doing this until I was almost 50.
Wow. Okay. Well, you are the epitome of the guest of Midlife Women Entrepreneur for sure. Starting late stage business, taking and doing something that you're passionate about, and specifically helping other midlife women get that stuckness unstuck. So before we dive into it, give us a little bit of an explanation, like hypnotherapy. Am I falling asleep? The first thing I think people think of is the guy on the stage that, says something and then shakes your arm or something and then you fall down.
Yeah, it's this incredible part of our mind that is highly, highly suggestible. And yeah, when you see on stage, they are accessing that part of our mind that's really suggestible. So telling you what to act like a silly chicken or, do those kind of funny things. So they're just finding the people that volunteer, like my son that is willing to go up there and act silly. And they're just showing it in a very quick entertainment sort of way. But for hypnotherapy purposes, to access that part of our mind, to allow us to access and do the things that we really want to do, like, for example, quit smoking or become more confident, or let's get rid of all the self-doubt and procrastination and the things that are stopping us from becoming the woman or the mother, the person that we really truly want to be. What we do in hypnotherapy is we get into a place, a theta brainwave, which feels like a meditation. So we actually just quiet the mind. So you're just relaxing, you're quieting the conscious mind, which is all the chitty chatty noise, the part that says the critical analytical mind, which, don't get me wrong, we need our analytical mind, but we don't need it to say, you're not good enough, or you shouldn't be doing that, or that's too logical, or you should know better. We're going to quiet that, and we're going to access the part that is highly, highly suggestible. And it's also your subconscious mind, which is 95% of how we view ourselves and we view the world. 95% of our mind that is how we make decisions, how we view ourselves in the world, is highly suggestible. So if you want to make big changes in your world, it's kind of smart to access the part that's highly suggestible. And so we do that in hypnotherapy. You can do it in EMDR. There's other modalities that you can access this. Joe Dispenza does with his really powerful meditations. You have to get into that certain brainwave that is highly suggestible. So it's just this very relaxed place. We all have this place that's highly suggestible, but it's also the place that can make things that aren't true about us think that is highly suggestible, like you're not smart, or the teacher that said you're never going to do that. You just don't spell very well. You're never going to be good at math. You're always going to have body issues. These are things that were highly suggestible to us at an early age as well, that are still running programs in our mind that through hypnotherapy, actually we can access, change them, and make better suggestions. So that's how I use hypnotherapy now. Let's make better suggestions.
Well, I get what you're saying in terms of the subconscious mind, and it stores our stories and the way that we see the world, I guess, or even respond to the world. So what would you say to somebody if they feel kind of woo-woo, like, okay, sure, whatever, Christina, sure, you can tap in. And also too, like sometimes subconscious, I don't really know what's in my subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So what makes you think you're going to like go in there and sort of straighten things out a bit?
Yeah, that's the best question you can ask, because most people will come to me and say, "But I don't know why I do that." So, they're sort of we're all racking our brains a little bit. Like, if I knew, I'd change it. If I knew why I eat cookies at 11 o'clock at night when I know I shouldn't, or I always, get angry really quick, or I procrastinate, or because we all have these things that we don't love that maybe we do, or we wish we would do better or different, or, um, I don't feel worthy of that thing or whatever. But the thing is with this process, you don't have to know why. We're so brilliant that in hypnotherapy, and I don't come with any preconceived notions, assumptions, guesses. There is no chart that I say, hold on, you don't feel worthy? Well, then it's going to be this. Or you have a money issue? Well, it's going to be this. Or a weight issue? It's going to be this. It's different for everyone. And so that's what's so beautiful about it is accessing your higher self and your subconscious mind. And for each person, it is unique. What programs and the journey that your subconscious mind and your life took you on, or other lives, if that's what you believe. But when we go in hypnosis, it takes us there. So we go back to very early memories and we find out what is the root cause for this feeling of never feeling enough, or not feeling worthy, or always sabotaging relationships, or always dating people that treat you this way or that way, whatever the reason someone's coming to me for. So we don't have to rack our brain for 5 sessions together. Why are you doing this? It's like, I just say, let that go. We don't need to worry about why. Stop. Because I think we're smart. We want to rack our brain with why. We want 4 strategies or an acronym to tell us why. Let it go. And in hypnosis, we go right to the very root. We go back to moments and scenes in our life, and it might be a scene, Lynette, where you're eating cereal with your sister and you think, what the heck does that have to do with anything? And then you're on the school bus, and then you're 20 years old and you're at work and your boss says something to you. But it's putting together feelings and programs and emotions. And then we're putting together a story, and we can see, and you actually, as the client, are saying to me, gosh, I'll say, what do you think are the reasons that these things have influenced? And always a client will say, oh my goodness, I can see exactly how these things have influenced why I feel the way I feel today. It's crystal clear. It's sort of like the analogy I was taught, and I think it's great, is the first time you're told Santa Claus isn't real. You don't have to go back to every moment you ever thought he wasn't real. You sort of have a paradigm shift. Okay, he's not real anymore. I get it. You don't have to go back. Okay, at the mall, I thought he was real. And then my dad came in and then no, he's not real. You just know he's not real anymore. So you have a paradigm shift. Oh, all those times I thought I wasn't worthy and everybody else was better. Now I see it so differently. Now let's rewire in the new belief in a suggestible way in that theta brainwave state, because we have neuroplasticity. So we can't rewire in a new belief, a new feeling in a brainwave like right now where you and I are talking. We need to do it in that theta brainwave, because that's when your mind is very suggestible. That's why we don't make changes. Like, for example, in diets, that's why so many diets don't work. If diets work, there'd only be one diet. There's millions of diets, because we're not doing it in a way that we're in a suggestible state. You do it with hypnosis, you're in a suggestible state. Your mind is open to suggestions. You're rewiring the belief. So if you listen to an audio in a theta brainwave state, you're rewiring a belief. You listen to that every day, it becomes who you are. So it's a deep subconscious change. So it's so powerful.
I love it. So let's back up a little bit. Most women start a business because they solved a problem first for themselves. And
Yeah.
so you on our pre-call talked a lot about, hitting rock bottom, your health, your marriage, and just essentially your identity was forced to change. And you realized that it was sort of the subconscious that was silently ruling your life. Talk a little bit about how you sort of pulled yourself out of it.
I grew up the oldest of four, and my entire, I guess, childhood, there was no silver spoon in my mouth, and it was a pretty rough childhood, I would say. And so what I learned right away was, if I'm the good girl, and it would make life easier. So a perfectionist was created very, very early on. And that went through my high school, college, and then into my corporate life and into my marriage, into this super mom persona, which I think is pretty common for so many women. And it made me very successful in corporate, climbed the corporate ladder very, very quickly, married, 2 kids, picket fence, the whole thing. But it burned me out tremendously. And my health, as you mentioned, wasn't doing very well. I had a lot of autoimmune diseases. I started to get a lot of anxiety attacks. I remember one day I had to ask the babysitter to take me to ER. I thought I was having a heart attack. I had to leave the kids and have her drive me to ER. My marriage after 25 years was, collapsing. And just all of it was, I just couldn't imagine my life. Everything all the little boxes that were checked, the money, the this, the that, and none of it felt good. And so I just had one of those moments where I thought, well, this can't continue like this. And I had a moment in the garden where I heard a voice that just said, when are you going to stop trying to please everyone else and do what you need to do for yourself? And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, I need to figure out why I keep doing what I think I'm supposed to do, yet I'm avoiding all the stuff on the inside that I'm afraid. And I had kind of a parallel spiritual world that I read personal development books. I did some meditation, played around with that, but I still was afraid to go deep because I knew there was stuff in there I didn't want to go and do. And so at that moment, I decided to do that. I decided to go deep into therapy, and someone suggested hypnotherapy. I actually listened to something on Mind Valley, and I thought, what the heck? Why not? So I did a hypnotherapy session, and it was incredibly intense, and it took me back to some childhood moments, and it was eye-opening because from there I did several years of EMDR, hypnotherapy, other modalities, but it was in that process that I discovered there were things about myself that I thought were true that were not true. They were programs that I had to believe to survive that made me realize there are so many women walking around believing things about themselves that aren't true. And one for me was, I have to be perfect for people to love me and accept me. And that makes you exhausted and it's not possible. And what about me? I was raised that you put yourself last, you put your family first. Self-care. In fact, if you did self-care in my family, you were criticized. That was just not what my family, my mother, no one taught me. You don't take time out to rest. That's ridiculous. And so for me to take time out to rest, I thought, well, I'd be a bad mom. So then here I am thinking, you're not a bad mom. You're not a bad person if you do those things. I literally had to reprogram all the things that I thought were true. I am enough. I am not a bad person. Everything I knew. So when I learned those things and changed them from the inside out, I thought I have to share this with other women. And I, from there, literally left corporate. By now, I'm single. I have a mortgage. I have kids in college. And I had a 30-year corporate career that made great 6 figures. And I had a great, reputation. So I could have kept doing it. I didn't love it, but I could have kept doing it. I mean, it was safe, but I didn't love it. and it didn't feel good. And I felt I had a calling. So from there, I did decide to go to school and do hypnotherapy, and did it on the weekends and at nights. And I sort of at that point thought, well, maybe I'll just play with it and do it on the side and help women on the side. And then it just kind of felt like, no, I want to do this, and I will take those skills and create something, and it will grow, and it's what I want to do. And the entrepreneur in me came out, and it's only because I knew inside the things that I changed, I'm enough and I am powerful. And I feel like other women inside are walking around with programs that are not true, and we should know about these things, and we should be able to change them. And there are so many other ways other than hypnotherapy, but this is another way that we can change them. And energy healing just, to me, speeds it all up.
That story was such a good case study of why you should go after what you're feeling inside, how to take a problem that you solve for yourself, apply it. Okay, sure, you needed to upskill. So you did it, and you kind of did it off the side of your desk until you could get to a place where you felt confident enough to go. It's such a good story, because I think there's a lot of women out there that would love to take that leap into something, but they don't know how to get started, or they don't, so thank you for sharing that, because it's really good. It's really good. So on our pre-call, and even you sort of alluded to it in your story, you said to me that in order to truly heal, you've got to get angry. You've got to go after that anger. And that stuck with me since our pre-call, and even to this day.
What I mean by that is there has to be a proclamation of angry, and sort of put your fists on the table, that an angry, I don't want to feel this way anymore. Angry in wanting to change. So angry in, I will change this pattern. Angry in, because that's kind of what it takes, because the patterns just keep happening. And it doesn't mean even though we've all, many of us have done a lot of healing. I mean, yesterday I had another pattern come up, and I remember saying to the healer and therapist I'm working with, I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been working on this forever. Why is this still coming up? You know, it's an evolution. There's always layers. So we don't just check a box and we're over that pattern. We are human, and we're always evolving. But there is a point when you have to claim what you want in your evolution. You have to say, and if it's a little bit of anger, it can be, I don't want this anymore. I am claiming what I own and want, and I want to be on the other side of this. No one's doing it for you. You have to be the one to say, you know what? I'm going to love the what out of that inner child, because that's what they deserve. So that's what I mean by that anger.
Yeah, I really like that. And that becomes almost the fuel to driving you forward. Yeah, no, that's great. So one thing in your story, you talked a little bit about that, the subconscious already knows the truth. But how do you tap into that subconscious? I know through the hypnotherapy you do, but what would you say to a woman, I guess, who's trying to logic her way way to clarity, or, just to kind of move forward? How would you tell her to tap more into that subconscious mind?
Yeah. Let go, surrender, let go. The control, the logic, that is a circle of endless frustration, to be honest. And this is a self-proclaimed control maniac for years, and I still struggle with it. But our logical mind doesn't have the answers. That's our thinking mind. Our subconscious mind is our feeling mind. Your answers are in your heart and in our body. And we want logical answers. We want, like I said, a 3-step process and program. So many times when I'm working with clients, they'll say, yeah, but can you just tell me 3 steps to get there? I felt sad. I talked to my inner child, but how? How do I get there? Okay. Are you feeling that feeling of how your inner child really feels? Are you in touch? Are you pausing? Let's pause and really tune in to what their needs are. Because until we meet their unmet needs, that program is still running. The running of the program is because the needs aren't met. You get to meet your own needs now. That's what's so amazing about this, is that you get to parent yourself now. It's never too late to have a new program, to write a new program, to have a new childhood, to change whatever you want. It's the most suggestible part of your existence. You get to program in whatever you want. What do you want? It's not in your logical mind. And we want it to be very logical and systematic and snappy, but it requires that we feel into it. And we are just so wired to not want to feel some of these uncomfortable feelings. But the cool part is once you feel it, it kind of moves through you pretty quick.
Yeah. You were telling your story about being in the garden and, this voice came to you that,
Yeah.
you got it. What are you doing? Like, let's go. That voice I've often heard referred to as an intuitive hit.
Yeah.
Where, you've really let go and you got that answer. What do you think? Because you were in a bit of a sticky situation. There was a lot of stuff going on. How were you able to quiet your mind enough, do you think, to actually get that answer?
Yeah, that's another good question. And I just wrote about this in a chapter in an anthology called Awakened Hearts. It was an awakening moment. So it was an intuitive download. I think to me, when we connect to our heart, I had a lot of moments in my life up to that point where, I was praying, I was begging for help. I was begging for what's wrong with my body, help me with my marriage, help me. I was sad. I was in a very sad, low place, and I was actually gardening, and I was with the earth. So I think, I was in a quiet place. I wasn't doing really anything. I wasn't trying to make it happen. I wasn't journaling. I wasn't doing anything. I was pulling weeds at the times. I was just literally, I was actually looking at the dog poop my kids didn't pick up. I was weeding. I was just sort of in that space. So whenever we can quiet our mind and allow ourselves just to have quiet time, I don't think we do that a lot. I mean, I had just gotten off an airplane. I was driving around, but I said, I'm going to go pull some weeds and get quiet. And think about it. Almost instantly, I had an intuitive hit. I was quiet. It didn't take long. So, even if it's 5-10 minutes, are we getting quiet? Do we have time? It doesn't always have to be a yoga class, a Pilates, a meditation, a walk, a podcast moment. Just allowing our mind to just get quiet and listen to nothing and just listen to your breath, listen to your heartbeat. So, getting back in nature, going for a walk, even just, I try just to have my lunch sitting outside if we can do that, or just, even if you have a tiny little patio, sitting outside, breathing the fresh air, looking at a tree, grounding, walking outside with no shoes on, just doing that a little bit. Do you know how much time we spend inside just, in a closed building, working, put your shoes on, you just go for the grind, you go in your car, whatever, the bus, something, and we don't have any moments outside. So getting outside is a great one. Just taking a little bit of time in the morning to have a little bit of quiet time. One of my favorite journal prompts that getting in sync is also one of the top 3 things that my clients ask me. Like, I feel out of it. I don't feel like I'm in touch. I can't trust my intuition. I'd like to trust my intuition again. So this journal prompt, just using your name, I, Lynette, I, Christina, feel, and then just, how do you feel? Are you in touch with how you feel? You might write, I feel really annoyed right now. I feel angry. I feel happy. All right. Just like when. Start getting in touch with I feel, and let it write 2 sentences, write more. You only have 2 minutes. Do it for 2 minutes. You have a little bit longer. Great. Just get in touch with how you feel, not what you want to do for the day, not a goal. Doesn't have to be measured and all the things we might also need to write about, but just how do you feel? And then if you want to take it another layer, just like when, because so often how we're feeling is connected to just like when. So I'll give you an example. I was recently really frustrated with someone, and I wrote just like when, and I instantly went back to when I was 12. And I was like, okay, that isn't really about them, is it? It's about It's about me and I'm being triggered just like when I was 12 and that thing happened, and just allowed me to put a little perspective and get less frustrated with that person and realize, okay, there's a part of me that I need to tend to, and realize that the thing within me, I need to have more patience. I need to have a little bit more of this. I'm realizing that part of me doesn't feel seen and heard. It isn't that that person, yes, that person's maybe not hearing me and seeing me as much, but it feels 1,000 times stronger with them because that part of me still feels like that thing that happened at 12. And that's not their fault. That's actually a part of me that I can meet my own needs. So this is the reprogramming. That's really powerful, to meet your own needs.
Yeah. And
Instead of making somebody else have to do it that actually has no idea what I'm talking about.
exactly, exactly. You were talking there and it just reminded me like when you had said that you help people to feel like it's already happened. And I think for me, that's a bit of a quantum healing thing. And I find that really hard. I get why you need to be in that frequency but it's hard. So
Mhm.
how what's the process that you take somebody through to get them to that place where they can feel like it's already happened to them, even though it hasn't?
Yeah. So a couple of things, just how do we speak to ourselves? So our mind doesn't understand future pacing. So when you're talking about something that we want, like I will, or all the things, like it doesn't understand in the future. It only understands the present tense. So really, I want to go to Hawaii, all that, it doesn't get it. So present tense is really important. And like, what does that feel like? So I get it. Like, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to feel like. I can't identify with that. I'm not a millionaire, and I imagine it feels pretty cool to be on a yacht, but all the time and have all the clothes I want, but it feels far-fetched. So just the milestones before then. So what can you feel? So chewing off the things that to get there beforehand, what does that feel like? And just being in the moment. So here's an example of a way to do it. So whatever one of the things is that you want to feel. So think of a moment in the last few days. Let's say if one of the things that you want, it would help you feel very joyful and you would feel really confident, and just when you walked into the room, if you had that thing, you would feel, wow, I'd feel so confident. We've all felt confident probably in the last week we can think of. So think of a moment in the last couple days where you felt confident, and close your eyes and allow yourself to feel that moment. And so maybe it was, yeah, I had that conversation with my friend and I felt really confident. I felt really good, or I felt really joyful. The point is you can think of a moment where you felt that emotion. It might have been petting your dog. Like that was so good, or holding a baby or whatever. It doesn't have to be a big moment. Allow yourself to feel it and embody it, because your cells have a great memory super quick. So think of a moment that you felt that emotion and just close your eyes, let your body feel it, and just allow it to kind of feel like a breeze is blowing through you. Okay, I felt it. I'm petting my dog. I feel it. I'm feeling it. Now think of that thing. Okay, that thing that you want. And it's pretty easy to then feel it because you're on a cellular level, you're there. So it's hard for us to imagine something we don't have. But if I said for you right now, think of a moment that you felt joy. Can you find a moment in the last 3 days that you felt joy? I bet you could say, oh, yeah, I saw a butterfly
Yeah.
the other day and I felt joy. Okay, close your eyes and feel it. Okay, now think of that thing. You could probably do it. So we have to just, or think of a moment that you felt so excited, and then let your cells remember it. And your cells very quickly on a cellular level go, oh, I remember that. And then you can do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking too, I know part of your process is to create these personalized hypnosis audios for your clients, right? And so what I was just thinking there is like, is that something that you should be doing every night? Like just maybe shutting down Netflix a little bit sooner, or turning off the phone a little bit sooner before you go to bed, and just find those feelings. And so my question for you is, what role does repetition and frequency play in rewiring that belief so that you can always easily get to that feeling again?
Yeah, it's a huge one. Our body keeps the score, our body remembers, and only rewiring happens through repetition. So the more we feel it, the more it becomes. We get more of what we feel. So whatever we're feeling, if we're feeling money's always going to be hard, I'm always going to have to work hard to get it, we're always going to feel that. If we start, if we, with a memory of, I remember one time someone told me to just take $1,000 cash and just put it in $1 bills and just feel it and like throw it up in the air and get really excited. And oh my God, this feels amazing. It feels so fun. And just feel that feeling. And I remember feeling like a fool doing it. Or it was like $100. It doesn't have to be whatever, $10, whatever feels good. And just like feel it and like, oh, I'm celebrating. I'm buying something fun. And it's like, and it was like a money thing for me, and keep doing it over and over and over. And it's like, woo! And throwing it up in the air and it feels good. And me and money are best friends. And every day it's like this cellular feeling. So your subconscious mind is your body. Okay. And that cellularly stays with you, and you do it over and over and over and over until it just becomes who you are. It's just like a muscle.
Yeah, repetition, repetition, repetition. And you have to say it. I think I was listening to Jen Sincerio's You Are a Badass, and she was just saying, I literally had to say 6,000 times, I am worthy of making money. I am worthy of having that money.
Yes.
And then it kind of clicked with me, because I think every self-help book, or you listen to Bob Proctor from The Secret, Napoleon Hill, Jim Rohn, all the greats, and they always start with money. What is your opinion on why people start with the money? Like, I know money is energy, but why do we start there?
I mean, money is the same energy as love and worthiness and safety. So you can replace it with love, worthiness, feeling like I'm safe. It's all kind of in the same energy. I've had 4 sessions today and they were all about money, and we could have been talking about love, worthiness, safety, same topic. So yeah, it's that feeling of, am I enough? Am I worthy? Which really kind of goes down to the even a deeper root, is because if I'm not worthy and I'm not enough, am I going to be alone? And that's a primal need, to not be alone, because if we're alone, we're rejected, and we all need to have connection. And you're absolutely right. The more we can repeat, I mean, I used to write on my mirror and lipstick. I learned that from my hypnosis mentor, Marissa Peer. I am enough. Have it on your phone, have it on your computer screen, whatever feels good. But the words you say are blessings or curses. So the more, listen to what you're saying to yourself. I'm not good at this. People like me don't have this. This is killing me. I mean, these are powerful things we say to ourselves. So what are you saying to yourself? Audit what you're saying and change it.
And even when you say those things like I am worthy and all that, writing on lipstick and stuff can feel a little bit woo-woo. But what you're saying is it's really just reprogramming years and years of what that subconscious mind has in it. And the more the subconscious mind hears it, it will start to move out some of that older stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I do believe you have to get to the root underneath it, that affirmations alone can do some shifting. And certainly the words we say are important. I do believe you need to get to the root underneath to really create deep transformation. So there's that I want to add to it. But, you also can do deep work and still speak badly to yourself. And so the words that we say, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of therapy and a lot of deep work that don't speak kindly to themselves. And that's not going to help either, or aren't mindful of the words we say and still speak ill to people on the road, right? You idiot, you're this, you're that. So, a great lesson always is whatever's going on in our outer world is going on in our inner world, 100%. So when we're frustrated at the things going on in our outer world, this is not woo at all. This is reality. Look what's going on in your inner world and just take an inventory. It's okay. Everything doesn't have to be going perfectly, but take an inventory of what's going on in your inner world. And it's an either moment to get really frustrated and say, I'm going to make a change, or just be kind and take a pause and say, I get to reprogram and change this. There are tools, there's support, there's methods, there's a moment of pause every morning. Maybe you can take 5 minutes and make some changes.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you're saying there. So was there a point, I guess, in your healing where you thought, can't go any deeper? You know, you talk about going deeper, you have to go deeper. Was there ever a time where you said, I can't go deeper, but then you actually did? And if so, what was the shift that happened so that you could get to that level?
I don't think I ever thought I couldn't go deeper. There have been moments where I have felt that I was stagnant because I believe there's a season, just like people in friendships and relationships. So I have felt that, all right, this is where this ends with this therapist or this healer that I'm working with, or, I'm done here. I feel like we're on repeat mode and I'm not growing anymore. And I'm still at a standstill. I'm still frustrated with this area of my life. I know I need to go deeper. And when I say that, I think once you're on this path of change, which really, again, did not start until I was almost 50. And once I started healing and unveiling a lot of things that I had just buried in my life for so long, once you start realizing how worthy and so many things there are to heal, not for any other reason than I'm just a human being, it's pretty cool and you want to keep healing it, I found, for me. So that's my journey, is like, this feels good. This feels good to know I'm worthy and know I actually can keep growing and evolving and changing. So I don't necessarily think I'll probably ever stop, but yeah, I just want to keep changing probably the people I work with to help me get there.
Exactly. You do talk about the people you work with, and you work with doctors, CEOs, lots of high achieving women, especially. What do you think that they're searching for? Because on the outside, they could probably look really successful, Doctor, she's a lawyer, she's a CEO, she's running a multi-million-dollar company. But what are they searching for really sort of beneath that surface?
They're searching to feel fulfilled in life and to feel enough. I think I do work with very, very successful, high achieving, even if they don't work outside of the home, but most of them are entrepreneurs and, at all different levels. But there's always a piece. They're searching to not sabotage what they know is possible within them. They all know they have greatness. I think that's important. They all know they have greatness, and they also know there's a part of them that's being held back and they don't want that. So I think that's beautiful. And they also usually come to me at a point where they know, I have so much. Why do I feel unfulfilled? What am I missing? I want the richness of life. I want the ease of life. And I've done all these things, or I've made all this money. I've done all the things I was supposed to, and I still don't really feel fulfilled. I want the thing for me. So that's where they're at.
And so what do you think the solution to that fulfillment?
I think it's pretty simple. I think the reason is, but I honestly think it comes down to a disconnect. Where did they disconnect from themselves? And for me, it's where did they disconnect from a higher power? It's pretty simple for me. So where did they disconnect from the truth about themselves? So whether that's their intuition, their wisdom, that they're enough, this truth about themselves. Where did they disconnect from the absolute truth about them? Where did they stop believing themselves? Where did they disconnect from themselves? That's where it happened. Was it when they were 1 or 2, where they had to stop believing in themselves to survive, to feel worthy, to feel safe? Let's reconnect that, because you aren't born that way. So let's just reconnect that. And all for good reasons. It's all valid reasons. We don't do this on purpose, but let's reconnect to themselves and to something much more powerful. We are able to breathe and live, and this is incredible. We're incredible beings. We are intuitive, to me, spiritual, physical beings. So let's just, to me, it's simple. Let's reconnect with ourselves and something much more powerful.
So tell me, you mentioned earlier that it was in your 50s that you started to do all this work on yourself and you will never stop. And I think we can all agree that healing and amplifying yourself and growth is a never-ending journey, and it should just be something that you enjoy. And that's, I guess, how you get the frequency of feeling that joy and stuff is just by being in the moment and knowing that you are growing. Do you think that you have to hit, I guess, rock bottom in order to really have one of the best healing experiences?
No. Have one of the best healing experiences. I would say no. I think that it's everyone's unique soul's journey and unique experience. So, I think that someone can come to me and want to make more money or want to lose 10 pounds and have the most profound healing experience and enlightening experience. And we might say, well, it's only 10 pounds. That's not a big life, moment. But we might, in this process, they might have one of these moments that is just so enriching and change their life and make them feel so, so good. So no, I don't think you have to hit the rock bottom at all. I think that we often wait that long until we activate and do something. And I think, as you know, on this show, midlife is a unique experience and moment for so many women for so many reasons, and a pivotal time in our life and on our journey for a lot of transformation to take place.
One thing that this podcast, I think, is evolving to is where it's a room for women to borrow beliefs until they can have it on their own. And so what would be one belief, Christina, that you would want them to borrow from you?
That you have the power within you to heal yourself. I really want, whatever that means, please interpret that however you want, but you have the power to heal yourself with your words, with your thoughts, with your beliefs. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, listen, you've been amazing. Where do people find you?
Instagram, Christina.lwoods, and my website, ChristinaLwoods.com. I have free downloads and meditations.
Easy peasy. That's easy. Okay, well, I'm going to put that all in the show notes. Christina, thank you so much for sharing your story, your knowledge, your insights. It was great.
Oh, thank you. I loved it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we'll talk to you
Lynette.
soon.
Thanks for listening today. Please like and subscribe. And if there's somebody out there that you think could benefit from the episode, give it a share. Midlife is your time, so go get it.